Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, an Oxford-based company promoting education at national and local levels, open house plan for new fish pantry, and snow ordinance finally okayed by the council.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. An Oxford-based company priding itself on being lightning fast is hoping to see its product enter the educational and packaging landscapes with that very same speed. Lightning Technologies, which is produce smart shipping pallets, is aiming to make transport of food, medicine, and technology safer. The company recently donated a combined $50,000 with Guard Pallet to teach packaging engineer students the use of smart pallets. Just some of the educational institutions receiving benefits will be Oxford High School, Oakland Community College, Oakland University, and Mott Community College.
Folks who failed to shovel the snow on their sidewalks this winter could find themselves shoveling cash out of their wallets under a new ordinance in the Oxford Village. Following months of discussion, drafts, and revisions, Council approved in a 4-0 vote last week a new snow ice removal ordinance with some last-minute changes adjusting the fines for violators. The new ordinance, the full text of which is designed to repeal and replace the existing ordinance from 1977. Officials have been working on new language since February.
Going into the new year with a renewed desire to make Oxford an exceptional school district, the Board of Education at its August 28th meeting reviewed the highs and the lows from last year's climate survey issued to staff and parents. Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources Ken Weaver explained how the district can improve based on the survey's most frequent replies. The survey was issued near the end of 2017-18 school year and was answered by teachers at all Oxford schools and approximately 628 parents.
Lots of people walk for different reasons. Some do it for exercise, some do it for relaxation and recreation, and some do it just to get where they're going. And some walk for a good cause. On Saturday, September 8th, people were invited to take a 23-mile walk along M24 as part of the 3rd annual Ruck for the Fallen, an event designed to raise funds for struggling veterans and remind them they're not forgotten.
Two dates destined to become milestones in the annals of Oxford Orient fish history are fast approaching. The first is Wednesday, September 26th. That's when nonprofit is planning to host a ribbon-cutting ceremony and open house at its new 5,000 square foot pantry located at 1060 South Lapeer Road, just south of Drainer Road in Oxford Township. The event will run from 4:30 to 7 p.m.
He's still not old enough to go out for a drink or rent a car, but 20-year-old Jacob Newby is close to wrapping up his 2nd year as a government official in Addison Township. Newby didn't have the years of experience that his counterparts did when he was elected into office on November 2016, but he's been working hard to change that by listening, learning, and doing his homework. Congratulations, Jacob. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
He's a real energetic young man, I can tell you.
He's a great kid. I shouldn't say kid. He's a great young man. He really pays attention to what's going on. He's also on our Cable Commission board, and he votes no when he thinks he shouldn't vote for something, and I appreciate that about him. He's not just following everybody else's lead.
Definitely does his research, from what I've gathered.
So speaking of our Cable Commission, I saw
nice
that...
segue.
Really, that was good timing. I saw that they've started digging the dirt out at Seymour Lake Park for us.
Oh, are they putting in a swimming pool, or what are they doing?
So we get to have a new building, something we've worked very hard for, I think. And they poured the pilings this week, so I don't think it'll be long before walls are up.
I think that's true. And the thing is, you know, actually a station has been paying quite a bit of money over the past few years just in rent alone.
Yes. Oh,
at
yeah.
this location. So we want to get out from under that.
Right.
And graciously, the Parks and Rec people have decided that it'd be a great location for them to have us there as well. So
Agreed.
that's why we're moving in there soon. Hopefully, what,
Keep an
February?
eye. We
sometime?
have to be out of here, out of this building that we've been in for 14 years. But to me, I keep saying it's kind of like a pole barn, but it's the good thing about building our own building is nothing will be retrofitted, and you're the engineer, so you know all the work that you've had to do around here.
Lots of wires.
Bubble gum, wires, duct tape, whatever it takes. We're on the air.
We don't want to spread that
And
rumor,
it's
Terry.
you that keeps us on the air, and I really appreciate that. But we have to be out by February. So hopefully, sometime in March, we'll be able to have a opening, grand opening, and
Right.
ribbon cutting, et cetera, et cetera.
So you folks watch for this because
That's
it'll be
right.
coming up and we'll sure make you aware of it.
And for this week, that's it for Oxford News This Week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories and others, pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, you can catch us on our website, occtv.org, on YouTube, and of course our regular channels. It's not Charter anymore, it's Spectrum, channel 191, or AT&T, channel 99.
Coming up soon, OCTV School News with Alexis Ware and our very own Cody Wright with his sports report. And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles. Thanks for watching Oxford News This Week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
The Michigan Renaissance Festival is about to begin. Tell us which OCTV show you're watching and we'll send you a limited number of tickets while supplies last. Just send a self-addressed stamped envelope to 1775 North Lapeer Road and we'll get them back to you. See you there. Huzzah!
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, Surf's Up. Electrons riding on a plasma wave can be accelerated to high energies, which may let us build small particle accelerators to smash them up and learn more about the tiniest objects in the universe. The world's largest accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider at the CERN Particle Physics Laboratory near Geneva, Switzerland, smashes protons by whizzing them around a 27-kilometer ring. But that won't work for electrons. They have to be accelerated in a straight line. The Advanced Proton-Driven Plasma Wakefield Acceleration Experiment, also at CERN, gets around this by shooting hundreds of billions of protons into a tube filled with rubidium atoms that have been stripped of electrons, forming a plasma. This results in waves in the plasma. When electrons are injected into the tube, the waves accelerate them. The container used is just 10 meters long, and the electrons at the end reached energies of 2 giga-electron volts. Electrons are fundamental particles, meaning we don't think we can break down them into anything smaller, but we don't know that for sure. To test that would require smashing electrons at hundreds of giga-electron volts, which could be done using higher energy protons, and good luck with that. On the medical front, an experimental drug for the most severe forms of multiple sclerosis has slowed brain shrinkage by nearly 50%. Loss of brain tissue is a marker of disease progression in primary and secondary progressive MS. In these forms of the disease, the ongoing breakdown of the protective myelin that surrounds nerve fibers in the brain leads to slower nerve signals, which can ultimately result in muscle weakness and problems with balance and vision. Robert Fox at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio led a phase 2 clinical test of a drug called Ibutylast, which inhibits proteins that can result in central nervous system inflammation. The trial involved 255 people from the U.S., with 126 receiving a placebo instead of the drug. Each took up to 10 capsules per day for 22 months and had brain scans every 6 months to gauge the volume of brain tissue. The team found that, on average, Ibutylast slowed brain shrinkage by 48% compared with the placebo, with those given the drug losing 2.5 milliliters less brain. Wow. And in space, time is running out for the NASA's Opportunity rover. A dust storm that has been raging on Mars since early June is starting to subside, potentially giving the rover enough sunlight to recharge its batteries, but NASA has set a 45-day deadline before it gives up on trying to wake it. The Opportunity rover is run entirely on solar power, so a dust storm like this one, which has blocked upwards of 99% of sunlight on the surface, can be catastrophic. The last signal received from Opportunity was on June 10th. Since then, it has been in sleep mode, using any power it had left to keep its batteries warm enough to weather the frigid, sunless surface of Mars. Now, the planet-encircling storm has begun to clear. Rover operators are sending Opportunity wake-up calls 3 times a week with orders to send back a beep if it's alive. The hope is that sleep mode kept the battery safe, and now a Martian dust devil could come along and blow the sand off the rover's panels, allowing it to charge up again. But on August 30th, NASA announced that those wake-up calls will only last 45 days, a much shorter rescue effort than the one that rescued the Spirit rover in 2010 and 2011. We listened actively for 11 months to try to find Spirit, said former Opportunity flight director Mike Siebert. The recovery attempt for Spirit was much less likely, but we gave it more time. Plus, he says, the 45 days will not get us to Martian dust devil season, which starts around December, when the solar panels would most likely get cleared off. In mid-October, operators will switch to several months of passive listening, in which they continue to monitor Mars for any signals from Opportunity, but do not send it any commands. It's much less likely for Opportunity to contact us on its own in the passive listening phase, says Siebert. The Opportunity and Spirit rovers were designed to last for 90 days on the Martian surface. Spirit lasted over 20 times longer than that, and Opportunity is in its 15th year now. But this dust storm has been one of the most intense we've ever observed on Mars, and it may spell the end of the rover's long mission. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Hello and welcome back to School News. I hope everyone enjoyed their weekend. This week we do have some exciting things to share as students are still settling into their first few weeks of school. One thing that was introduced to the students of Oxford Middle School was the Positivity Challenge. The challenge is a cluster of words and behaviors made up of 24 characteristics we call strengths. The idea is to emphasize that all 24 characteristics are inside all of us, even if they aren't always apparent. Because these strengths aren't always apparent, students spend the entire week going over these traits and exercising the behaviors throughout the day. As you take a look at the diagram, you'll notice that it's split into 6 different categories, those being courage, humanity, transcendence, temperance, justice, wisdom, and knowledge. Of those 6 categories, the 24 characteristic strengths and values are listed. I can't wait to see how students flourish in this positive environment. It may even be a good idea to take some of these virtues and practice them at home outside of school hours, even on the weekends. Last week, students did focus on the idea that other people matter as they kicked off their positivity project. This week, students will be focusing on curiosity. And I'm kind of curious to see what cool projects they have in store. In other news, Lakeville Elementary has an outstanding variety of new administration. They received a new principal, social worker, school-to-home liaison, art teacher, and first grade teacher. Just in case you missed recent board meetings, here's a quick highlight. 7 policies were passed the week of August 28th, topics ranging anywhere from staff and student district issued email addresses, weapons, and Oxford High School may be getting a new medical foundations curriculum. Keep watching to see what happens with that new curriculum, interviews, and more school news as the school year progresses. Remember that anyone is allowed to attend board meetings to stay informed, and look forward to the Schooling Around segment with myself and Rachel Baker Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. every week. Before we go, parents, if you ever have a question about any school schedules, conferences, or even when report cards come out, visit oxfordschools.org. There you can find the yearly calendar for grades elementary through high school, OVA, Bridges, and Crossroads schools. That's all until next time. See you later, and remember to stay tuned for Cody Wright with School Sports coming up next.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here once again for this week's Sports Report. This fall season is going great so far. The girls swim and dive is off to a great start. Girls volleyball is up and running. Boys soccer looking good. And the football team looks fantastic. We got a few scores to go over and a couple interviews to check out, so let's just dive in. First off, the varsity football team took it to the Dragons on the road last week. We had a great start to the season a few weeks back here at home, taking it to Romeo in a great game all around. But the game was on our side this week. Final score was 28-7. The JV team also took on Lake Orion here at home and fell to a final score of 20-0. But the freshmen took the win, 28-0. So all in all, it was a successful week for Oxford football. The boys soccer team also took on Lake Orion, JV and varsity both at home. Varsity taking the win in a close call, 1-0. However, JV didn't quite pull it off. Final score ended 3-2. The girls JV volleyball team also traveled out to Clarkson High School and took on Clarkson, but fell 2-0. However, we also took on West Bloomfield and pulled it together to grab the win. Final score was 2-0. And last but certainly not least, the girls swim and dive team took on Berkeley here at home to kick off their season. It was a good way to start things off. It was close, however, but a win is a win. Final score of the night, 94-92. Like I said, we also managed to get a few interviews talking with athletic director Jordan Ackerman about his thoughts so far on this fall season. And we also sat down and talked to Wildcat brothers and double athletes, so here they are. Check it out.
Okay, here we go. We got Jordan AD here. I'll tell you, one of the greatest fall starts ever.
Yeah,
It's because of you, right?
no, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the hard work of our kids and the hard work of our coaches. I've never seen kids work so hard. So
We're lucky. I'll tell you that the tennis team's doing good. Football's doing great. Soccer's looking great. I mean, what do we weekend?
volleyball,
Volleyball's looking good.
golf, everybody's off to a hot start right now. We just it's a matter of keeping it up. But you got to get with the
I got to get these guys.
real guys.
I am. Thank you. All right, Oxford's got a lot of brother and sister and brother acts and all that. And this is just one of the groups here, the Townsends. Now tell us all the sports you play.
I'm Trey. I play basketball, kick for football, and run track.
And your little brother?
I play soccer and basketball for the school.
I'll tell you, these guys are really good at basketball. We saw you in the football game. Football's really crazy this year.
Doing good.
So, anyways, brother acts, sister acts, all over the place in Oxford. Just wanted to introduce these guys. And your dad's always out there taking pictures.
Pictures.
Yeah, you won't miss them, really. How many pictures do you take? Quite a few?
Quite a few, yeah.
Good luck, boys.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right.
Well, folks, that's all for this week's report. For any more info on upcoming events, go to oxfordathletics.org. Plenty of schedule statistics and more all right there at oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out at occtv.org. All of our coverage of the sporting events, along with many other programs we put together, all can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access through the website. Once again, that is occtv.org. And that's going to do it for this week's report. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories come from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, Ford Motor Company says it is canceling plans to import a wagon version of the Focus to the U.S. from China because tariffs enacted by the Trump administration would cut into profits too much. The automaker wouldn't reconsider its decision even if the tariffs are eventually dropped, a spokesman said. Ford had planned to bring the Focus Active to the U.S. in the second half of 2019 after discontinuing the sedan variant here. It had expected to sell fewer than 50,000 units a year. The impact to our future sales are expected to be marginal, Kumar Galhotra, Ford president of North America, told reporters on a conference call. Our viewpoint is that given the tariffs, our costs would be substantially higher. Our resources could be better deployed at this stage. The decision will mean the end of the venerable Focus nameplate in the U.S. The automaker is in the midst of a global restructuring expected to cost $11 billion over the next 3 to 5 years. It's revamping its North American vehicle lineup by eliminating all sedans in the coming years as it works to achieve 10% profit margins in the region. Ford had said it would bring the Focus Active to the U.S. in April when it announced the cuts to its sedan lineup and said it would be one of only 2 cars to remain in North America dealerships along with the venerable Mustang. The Focus Active already is sold in Europe, and Ford said it would continue with plans to bring it into China build it in China, that is, for that market as well. Automakers have urged the Trump administration not to impose tariffs on vehicles built in China. And over at General Motors, electric cars developed by General Motors may be able to recharge their batteries with 180 miles of driving range in less than 10 minutes, a quicker juicing up than drivers can get at Tesla Inc.'s superchargers. GM and one of its research partners, Delta America, are developing the fast charge system as part of a 3-year project. GM has said it's readying 20 electric vehicles for sale by 2023 that will be capable of rapid charging. Automakers are racing to recharge EVs faster so that customers are less worried about running out of range. With Delta's system, GM's cars could add 18 miles of driving range per minute. Tesla's superchargers are at about 6 miles per minute, and Porsche is pledging about 12.4 miles per minute for its Taycan electric sports car, said Sam Abdul-Samad, an analyst at Navigant Research. Everyone would like to replicate what we can do when we're filling a gas tank with gasoline, says Al-Samad. This is especially true for people who live in cities. It makes a lot of sense to have an EV in urban areas, but people who live there are least likely to have access to charging. On its website, Tesla touts the ability to replenish batteries of its vehicles with about 30 minutes at its supercharge stations. GM's Chevrolet Bolt, meanwhile, needs about 30 minutes of charging for fast public stations for about 90 miles of range. And on the recall front, Nissan Motor Company is recalling about 166,000 vehicles in North America because a problem with the ignition switch could cause the vehicle's engine to shut off while driving. The automaker said 153,000 of the recalled vehicles are in the U.S. and 13,000 are in Canada. The automaker is asking drivers to immediately remove all objects such as additional keys and keychains from the ignition key ring in an effort to lessen the chances of problems. A Transport Canada website notice disclosing the problem echoes some of the language used by General Motors in describing the issues surrounding its ignition switch recall crisis. Transport Canada did not say whether Nissan problem has led to any crashes, injuries, or fatalities. There was no recall notice found on the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration website as of October 30th, however. Nissan's statement for the U.S. market said it is not aware of any incidents stemming from the problem. On certain vehicles equipped with a mechanical key ignition system, a spring in the ignition switch could wear and break, allowing the ignition key to inadvertently move from the on position to the accessory position while driving, says a post on Transport Canada's website. If that happens, it could cause the engine to shut off and the airbag system to lose power. The loss of power and change in steering and brake forces could increase the risk of a crash, causing injury and or damage to property. Additionally, in the event of a crash, the airbags might not function. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.